Hello, good afternoon. It's Dean Quealy here, Quealy & Co in Sittingbourne, North Kent. I'm here today to talk to you about how to vet an estate agent's valuation. This is a really important part of the process because it can have significant bearing on your success, your outcome, your ability to move, but more importantly, the price you end up achieving. And I cannot stress how important this is for people to be properly prepared when going into this process, so that they can have some control over that outcome. So I think the first thing I would say is that in most circumstances people decide to use an estate agent. In not every circumstance, but most. But if you do, the right agent will be able to help you through the whole process. They'll be able to smooth out the bumps. They'll be able to guide you along. They'll be able to help you with your marketing strategy, your pricing strategy, and to critically help you get the best price you can for your property. So, with your own home, you're likely to have invested an awful lot of time, energy and money, and it's only right that you deserve to achieve the best price you can. If you fail to do so, you'll end up just passing on that time, energy and money to a buyer. It's your efforts, you deserve it. You shouldn't just be handing it on a plate to a buyer. So what you need to do to sort of prepare for this is you choose the right agents. You've got to talk to people, you've got to prepare and get the people on to coming out to see you that you perceive have got some experience of dealing with properties of a similar nature. And that can be done by just some analysis on search on Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, just to see what other properties of a similar nature to yours are available. And when you get to see those properties, you'll see which agents are dealing with them, and you may have got some personal recommendations as well, and that can be invaluable. So it can be good to get those guys along. But then you've got to do some research yourself about what else is going on in the market. You can see what properties are available, you can see how long they've been available, and this is seeing how long other properties have been for sale is really, really important. In general terms, prior to lockdown, a property should only have been on the market for 6 to 8 weeks before a buyer is found, and a total time of marketing from start to finish of probably maximum 20 weeks. So if a property's not been sold within that time, there's always a reason for it. The vendors might have been unlucky. They may have had a sale that had fallen through. There may be something odd about the house. It may be in a poor location, or it might have a big electricity pylon in the back garden or something of that nature. But otherwise, invariably, it's the price. So getting the price right is not just about overpricing the property or underpricing it. It's a question of getting the price spot on so that you can actually achieve as close to that price as possible. So having sort of done some analysis of what else is on the market, you can also cross-reference that by checking house prices. Rightmove has it, Zoopla has it, but you can see what other properties in the area have been selling for, what prices they have, and there's some photographs, and you click on and look at some extra detail in terms of all the additional photographs, sometimes floor plans, etc. And that'll give you a bit of perspective as to how similar to your property those properties have been and what price they've been selling for. So that gives you a good basis point. You should come into the meeting with the agents that you've chosen to come and see you prepared. You can also do a little bit of reading around in the media, whether it's on the television, news stations, internet, or even just in the newspapers, just to see what the general outlook is about the property market. What are people saying? What are they thinking? Invariably the press likes to give us all bad news. It's bad news, it seems, that sells newspapers. But really, just to get some perspective on what it seems is going to be happening for the property market in the coming month or two, and you should store that information so that when you go into a meeting with an agent, you've got quite a lot of background. So what you're expecting the agent to do is to come in to see you, and they need to start off by understanding what it is that you want to do. We're all different, we've all got different needs, we've all got different objectives, we're all doing different things. We might have different timescales, we might have different objectives in terms of price expectations, but your agent, before they come, they should really have asked you what it is that you want to do, you personally. It's not what they want to do, it's what you want to do, and they've got to understand that and then talk to you about their service, their advice, their expectations about market conditions that will fit with what it is that you want to do. So the agent can do things in a number of ways. They have some additional tools that are available to them that will give them information about not only what else is for sale, what other properties have been on the market, but critically how long they've been actually on the market, and that will help those agents talk to you about experience with other properties of a similar nature. And really those agents ought to be able to understand and show to you what their experience has been and talk knowledgeably about the other properties that have been in the market. Now, it's our expectation that that on the whole, irrespective of lockdown, in general terms in the current market, people should be achieving anywhere around 98-99% of their asking price. So when an agent talks to you about their expectations about price, which hopefully they've been able to substantiate with evidence of other transactions that they've seen, they should be able to talk to you about a figure that is very, very close to the pricing strategy that they're recommending. Because the one thing that you need to be very, very careful about is that an agent sometimes will tell you what you want to hear. They perceive perhaps that your choice will be based entirely around the price that the estate agent gives you. And you need to be very, very careful if that's the approach that's been taken. Because the agent needs to be able to show you that the evidence supports their recommendations, because if you get it wrong, you can get it seriously wrong. I'll give you an example. So only last night I went to see a client who's just agreed to buy a property close by to us. It's not through us, but it was a property that was on the market at $525,000, and I was very surprised to see that the house was on the market for that price, but I was even more surprised to find that the buyer themselves had been able to secure that property at $472,000. I was amazed. I said to them, "How did you do it? What happened?" Now, the buyers were in a particularly good situation, so they had some advantage for the vendor, but the vendor's property had been on the market since January. Clearly we've had a couple of months where the market's been almost out of action, but there was no reason why this particular property couldn't have sold in January or February. The market was active. We saw all our inquiry levels almost double on the same period last year. So I was aware of the property, and I knew that this particular house had that there was nothing that could support the asking price that the agent was advertising at. And so it didn't come as a surprise to me that they'd had to reduce the price significantly to get a sale. But if they'd got their pricing strategy right at the outset, which probably would have been with an asking price of around $500,000 rather than $525,000, then I'm pretty sure that back in January or February they would have been able to secure a sale at around $490,000. The evidence was all there. Other properties of a similar nature have been selling. And what's ended up happening is that they've achieved a price of almost £20,000 less than they could have achieved. And I think an awful lot of that had to do with getting our pricing strategy wrong from the outset. It begs the question, were the vendors led to believe by the agent that the price that the agent had suggested was realistically achievable? Did the vendor check whether the agent was able to substantiate the advice that had been given? Now, going into a meeting, that agent should be able to show to the vendor evidence of other properties that are on the market, evidence of other properties that have sold, evidence of other properties, not just with themselves, but across the board with all estate agents. And they should be able to talk about the time that those properties were on the market. They'll be able to tell the vendor about the price that was being advertised for the property and the difference between that and what was actually achieved, because that is a real clue as to whether their start point was right. And in a flattish market, which we've been in for probably the last 2 to 3 years, getting your pricing right can be absolutely critical. It has a real bearing on your end result, your outcome. And the reason for this is that one of the things that buyers do when searching for a property is that they'll find something that they like and they'll look for some details. They'll look for the photographs and they'll look for the description and maybe the location and school's information. But it's very, very clear how long that property's been on the market. Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, they all publicise very easily how long that property's been on the market. And what tends to happen is that a buyer's perception of the value of that property will just fall the longer it's been on the market. So getting your pricing right at the outset in the right market is critical, and sometimes a vendor will have the perception that by being patient with the price they will achieve a better price, but in fact that's not how a buyer perceives it, and the buyer is the person who's going to buy the house. The vendor will only end up selling it if they desire to accept the market's price. They'll only end up selling it for the price that the property is worth. So when the agent has been through all the information, then be critical with the agent. Ask them why that property was on for so long. Did it achieve a certain price? Why didn't it achieve a certain price? So put the agent on the spot. And the agent should be very, very comfortable with that. If they've got the experience of marketing properties in your area and of a similar nature, then they should be able to talk confidently to you about their experience of other properties that have been available. And then the agent should be able to substantiate why that property or any other property has been on the market for any particular length of time. There might be a good reason for it, and the agent should know that. So I've got a question here from Miles White. He's asking whether overpricing a property is more damaging than losing the business for the right price. I think that if the agent has made the right case and has been able to substantiate the information and market conditions in a convincing way to the vendor, then the vendor should choose the right agent rather than just go with an agent that has given them something they like to hear. Now, naturally, if an agent is in a target situation and that they've got to go back to a manager and substantiate how well they're doing, there is the risk that that agent might just secure the business, tell the vendor what they want, and just aim to achieve the instructions. But I think if a wily vendor will be able to see through that, and if the agent's been able to substantiate the information that and recommendations, then choose that agent for those reasons. But as I said, you should be very, very careful not to make a decision on an agent who just gives you a price that sounds very attractive but haven't been able to substantiate what it is that they're recommending you should do. Because having made any decision to use an agent, you've then got to feel confident that that agent is going to be able to back up not only their advice but also the service throughout their relationship with you, and that relationship could be for some time. So you've got to feel confident that if they get things right at the outset, if they can substantiate their recommendations, that the relationship they have with you during the course of marketing and a sale proceeding will be consistent. The values that the agent purports to hold should be translated into all touch points that you have with that agent. So I think if the right agent is there in your living room talking to you about what they can do, what the market's doing, then they are going to be able to help you go through the whole process, make it smooth, and your outcome should be around the level that you're expecting. So often vendors just perceive that having chosen an agent, they think they've got the price right. It might be the price that the agent has chosen or recommended. It might be the price that just the vendor wants. Sometimes an agent will say, well, okay, well, I'll just take the business and work on the vendor and see if we can get the price down once we've had it on the market for 2 or 3 weeks. But really, if that is the strategy, it ought to be explained right at the outset that that's the strategy. The agent should be honest about their position, honest with the vendor. And sometimes it can be difficult to absolutely get the price right because the property might be very unusual. There might be something about that property that isn't consistent with the market. It could be a one-bedroom detached bungalow in a street full of 3-bedroom semi-detached family houses, and the evidence may not be there to substantiate a recommended price. And sometimes it'll be the market that will tell the vendor and the agent how much it is worth. So the position could at that point be that you've just got to go through the process of testing the market to see what happens. But the agent really at the outset should be explaining to the vendor that that's what's happening. So that then some decisions around what to do in 2, 3, 4 weeks, 6 weeks time, assessing the activity, the response to the marketing that's taken place, should be considered. There should be a plan. It isn't, as certainly with ourselves, there isn't a situation where we just put the property onto our Rightmove at the earliest possible opportunity and just sit back and wait for the phone to ring. There needs to be an assessment, a plan. You put the property onto the market, what happens next? What was the vendor's expectations? What was the agent's expectations? What happens to measure those expectations, whether that's in 2 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time? Is there a review that's going to take place? How is that review conducted? What analysis takes place at that review? Is it feedback from viewings that have taken place? Is it an assessment of other properties that are on the market? Did those properties come on the markets after the property in question was first listed? So these are all issues that should be considered within the initial positioning with the purchaser, the vendor rather, so that when a decision is made to market, the vendor understands how the agent has arrived at their recommendations, what is being recommended, how it's going to be analysed along the way with marketing, so that if there are decisions that need to be made about whether it's pricing, whether it's presentation, whether it's the type of marketing that's being done, that assessments can be made along the way, so that if there are anything that needs to be changed, that it can be done so in a way that might generate fresh activity. And really the key to this is that in most circumstances, if you've got your marketing right, you should be able to find a buyer within 6 to 8 weeks at the outside. And if you've got to a point 4 to 5 weeks in and you haven't got good interest in the property, then you need to understand with your agent why that is, because the last thing that you can afford to do is to sit back and wait for another 4 or 5 weeks, not do anything, and then wonder why it is that you haven't found a sale. So Ian White's asking a question as to how many agents are there are this transparent in their marketplace. Well, I fear there may not be as many as I'd like there to be, and it's one of the things I think going forward we're as customers, consumers in anything that we do in life now, we've got the ability to sort of look at reviews. We've got the ability to and discuss with friends and relatives about any experiences that they might have had with whatever it is, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a product from Amazon. But I think it's essential that you should rely on recommendation which will point you in the direction of services that you might want to use. And in our industry, in estate agency, there is a massive difference between people who are good at their job and who are able to provide solutions for their clients, and people who are just coming out to see a property and not having the right information, the right experience to be able to give vendors the right advice, such that they can achieve the objective that they're setting out for. We've got Charlotte has just asked about how things are looking since lockdown, and the position at the moment is that the government in the middle of last week eased restrictions on estate agency activities, and that means we were able to come out and see clients, discuss their intentions regarding marketing, whereas we were only able to do it on a Zoom type call beforehand. But we're now able to show people around houses, strictly following safety guidelines. The safety of our customers, both vendors, purchasers, and indeed our employees too, is paramount. But we are able to conduct business, and I did an assessment yesterday as to the inbound inquiries for sales properties in the week leading up to the easing of restrictions and the week following, and our inquiry levels had gone up threefold. So, and that has actually also translated into viewing activity too. So, Charlotte, the answer is that the immediate reaction has been favourable, and I think we've just got to hope that the period now moving forward is that the infection numbers continue to fall. We've got an assessment going on at the moment with the government due to make their next announcement next Thursday, and we're hoping that the infection numbers continue to fall, that the rate of R continues to fall, that perhaps we may be in a situation next week of having a reduction in the emergency level from level 4 to level 3. And if that happens, then there'll be further easing of restrictions. And one of the things that we noticed during the course of the lockdown period was that a lot of mortgage lenders weren't able to process mortgage applications for high loan-to-value applications. And that wasn't meant to say that they didn't want to lend money. It just meant that they couldn't send surveyors out to do physical valuations. So that meant they weren't able to carry out the process, and in the last week now we are seeing that mortgage lenders are changing that around, so they are able to process these applications. We're starting to get phone calls from surveyors. They're going out to see properties that have been just held for the last 2 months, but these properties are now all picking up, the process is picking up, solicitors are getting up to speed. So we're hopeful about the market. It's not an easy time by any means, and a lot of people have been affected in quite a serious way. But the quicker things get back to normal, the quicker maybe people come out of furlough, the quicker that people may be able to secure new positions if they've been made redundant. So we're just hoping that there isn't any sort of delay or indeed any form of second spike later in the year. So In sort of summary, I think if you've got your right agent, if you feel confident that that agent has got the experience to deal with a property such as yours, if they've been able to substantiate their recommendations and you feel that the right advice has been given to you, then you will make the right decision, work with that agent, and along the way, if you feel confident that that agent is maintaining contact, is giving you feedback from viewings, is reviewing the market with you, is discussing your own position and whether that's changed at any point, then adjustments, if they need to be made to the marketing, should be made. They should be made timely, because, as I said, the last thing that you should do is to allow a property to languish in the market. But if you get these things right, you'll find that you might very well achieve what you want to, get the best price you want to, which is should be really important to the agent that you're choosing. And the values of that business should be that your success is more important than theirs. They'll do well off your success, because if they've done a good job for you and you're happy and you feel you've got a good price and the service has been right, then you'll talk about it and that will benefit the agent. But if an agent takes a view that you're a number and that you're just part of a statistic, part of a number of properties that that particular branch is selling, and that that particular individual that you might be dealing with at that branch is just trying to achieve a certain target level because that's been given to them by a line manager, then you have to question whether those values are aligned with what you're trying to achieve. So my recommendation is do some research, be prepared for the visit from the agent, put the agent on the spot, make sure that they're able to substantiate what they're recommending, ensure that that agent is backing up their recommendations with solid evidence. It's not just, oh well, we did sell this for this. It's you need to see the evidence. You need to see what they've done, what the address of the property was, how long it was on the market, what price they achieved, and how that related to the price that was being asked. If your agent is able to do all of that, and then just to do some other common sense things like turning up for the appointment on time, being presentable, following up on the appointment with a confirmation as to what was discussed, it'll start to give you some confidence about whether that agent is actually serious and is going to be able to look after your interests throughout. Because if they don't care about some of those little details at the outset, what are they going to let miss through the whole process? So we're coming almost to the end of a half-hour slot. I think the only thing I sort of wanted to add it in was the bit really, I think, just towards the instructions with the agents. There should be a whole strategy around the marketing that they need to talk to you about. You know, what's the right time to release the property? Is it a time of the day? Is it a day of the week? Are they going to do any exclusive marketing before releasing to the properties? Could that be exclusive marketing to their internal database? Have they thought about whether an open house arrangement is appropriate for your property? All those things are important, and they should be relevant to you. It shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all solution for all of the properties they're marketing, all of their vendors, because your circumstance is different to any one of their other customers. So I think you should feel confident that the advice you're being given is personal to you, it's been substantiated, and that having done all of that, there is a positive plan about how you're going to release the properties to the market, how you're going to analyse the marketing that's been done, and then work with the agent. If you're confident that that agent is doing that analysis and keeping you appraised, then work with that agent so that you can achieve the result you want, which is a sale, but it's at the best possible price. So I'm looking to see if there's any other questions here. I can't see any more at the moment, and we're just coming up for 1:30, which I was allowing a period of half an hour for this. So if there isn't anything else, have a good day. Enjoy the bank holiday weekend. Be very, very pleased to help anybody with questions. You can call us at the office. Our number's behind me. You can send me an email personally. My email address is dee@Quealy, which is quealy.co.uk, and I'll be very pleased to discuss anything with you. So have a good weekend, be safe, and hope everybody stays well.